Hey guys, what's up? On today's episode, we're going to continue working on bass scales. So, without further ado, let's get on with it. Alright guys, so once again, we're going to work on the major scale for the 5-string bass. As you remember last time, we took the major scale for the 5-string bass and we cut it in half and decided to only work on the first half. Well, this time we will be working on the second half of the major scale. I also decided to trim down the time a bit from an hour a day to half an hour a day. Only because I have other things that I'm planning on doing in my hour practice. So, with that being said, let's talk about the notes for the second part of the major scale. Starts off first with F sharp and G sharp on the E string. Then A sharp, B sharp, C and C sharp on the A string. D sharp, F and F sharp on the D string, and G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, and F on the G string to round out the first part of the second half. It's followed by F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, and B on the E string, C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, and G sharp on the A string, A sharp, B, and C sharp on the D string, and D sharp, F, and F sharp on the G string to round out the second bit, or the second part of the second half of the major scale. Alright, now since we have those notes laid out, I'll make sure to put them on the screen as we go through them. But now since we have the notes laid out in front of us, it's time to start practicing. And of course, when starting to practice, we want to take it slow. So, let's grab one of these basses off my wall and get started.
Alright guys, so for the first 2 days, all I did was just practice the scales by themselves, making sure that I took my time going slow, focusing on all of the notes, making sure I hit them at the right time, having enough pressure on the strings up against the fretboard and the frets. It's important to note that I had to switch out my bass because the other one was not in tune and I didn't want to take the time to tune it. This is important because you want to make sure your bass, or any instrument for that matter, is in tune when learning something new. That way you can hear it fully. As you can tell, my hands were starting to cramp, which is okay. If your hands start to cramp, take a few quick moments, stretch them out, get your hands loose again before jumping right back into it. Once again, for the first 2 days, all I did was just focus on the scales, making sure I had them down, trying to get my muscle memory to work in. Also, as I stated before, very, very important to take your time. You don't want to rush through this. The basics are always the best. somewhere around this point, I started to pick up my speed. I started to feel more comfortable with just the second half of the scale, so I started to pick up my speed, seeing how fast I can get it while still hitting all the notes at the correct time and spacing. Also, moving around from sitting down to standing up also helps to get your position, your playing position correctly. Also, you just get bored sometimes just sitting down, so that helped out too. Now, for days 3 and 4, I did something very simple. In increasing the difficulty, all I really did was just add in the first half of the scale set that we learned a little while ago. At this time, I felt really comfortable with the progress that I made with days 1 and 2 and working on the second half of scale set list. Now, by incorporating the first half of the scale set list that we've already learned and practiced, it's helping me to fully understand how this set of scales work together and how to freely move about them while working and practicing with them for the future. Alright guys, so I can't stress this enough. Always make sure when starting something new or when ramping up your intensity when practicing that you start off slow. Make sure you get a good feel for everything. That is what I did here on day 1 and also on day 3. Day 1, I was just trying to get to know the second part of the bass scale. Day 3, I put them all together. Once again, always starting slow. There is no shortcut to practicing. If you want to get good at something, you need to put in the hours. Alright guys, so this time I just switched up my bass just to keep it fresh. If you didn't know, each bass sounds completely different when playing the exact same thing. This is because no two instruments are made exactly alike, even though they may be the same brand and same model. It's always good to make sure you practice on every one of your instruments, just to make sure you know how to play that one correctly. So day 5, the last day in this work week, was, how can I put it, the fun day. This was a freestyle day when I allowed myself to do or play anything I wanted to on any bass I had. The only stipulation was I can only play notes from the scale that we had just been practicing. And when I say the scale that we had just been practicing, I don't mean just the second half, but the whole entire first and second half, or the complete bass scale. Now, because this was a freestyle day, I really didn't care about starting off slow and progressing faster, just because it was a freestyle day and there was no structure. Anyways, guys, that's how I ended my work week. Once again, make sure when starting, you start off slow and progress faster only when you feel comfortable, adding in new things along the way. Alright guys, that's all the time we have for today. This video was helpful. Why don't you go down there and give it a thumbs up. That will let me know that you like this type of stuff, and I will keep on doing it. Once again, I'm Black Boy in a Band, saying keep practicing, and always remember, when starting something off for the first time, start slow. Remember, basics is key. Once again, keep practicing, and we'll see you next time.